Quezon City has come a long way since its establishment in 1939, affirming the visionary stewardship of its leaders and the remarkable diligence and industry of its people. Indeed, Quezon City has evolved into a diverse, bustling metropolis, strengthening its distinction as a leading center of commerce, transportation, arts and culture, and education. Join us today as we continue with our feature on the 2016 Quezon City Real Property Tax General Revision. I am Dr. Victor B. Endriga, and this is Tax TV, a taxpayer's guide to Philippine taxation. For the past several years, Quezon City was the richest city in the country. However, Quezon City, being the richest and the largest city, has the lowest schedule of fair market values of real property, such as buildings, machineries, equipment, and other improvements in the country, because the last general revision of fair market values in the city was on December 19, 1995, or more than 21 years ago. Quezon City is strategically located at the heart of Metro Manila, the most dynamic region in the country. It is one of the most accessible destinations in the country, having the broadest network of interconnecting roads and mass transport system. Quezon City is one of the fastest growing metropolis and is one of Asia's most competitive cities. As the largest, having a land area of 161,126 square meters or 16,112.8 hectares, more than 3 million population, and 2.42% annual growth rate. The city comprises 23.3% of the total population of Metropolitan Manila. It has a number of mixed-use 24-hour communities with businesses, residential condominiums, restaurants, malls, and integrated developments. And on August 26, 2016, in the joint resolution of the four assessors, they assert it is to the best interest of all assessors in the four adjacent cities, which is considered one contiguous political subdivisions, to maintain uniformity and equality in assessment of all classes of real properties thereon, to utilize and adopt a uniform and common schedule of values for buildings and improvements constructed in the metropolis. Quezon City, therefore, must align its schedule of fair market values with those being imposed by other metropolitan Manila cities as mandated in the Local Government Code or Republic Act 7160 as amended. This is Tax TV. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Epifanio de los Santos Avenue, commonly referred to by its acronym EDSA, is a limited access circumferential freeway around Manila, the capital of the Philippines. It is the main thoroughfare in Metro Manila, passing through 6 of the capital's 17 local government units, namely from north to south, Caloocan, Quezon City, San Juan, Mandaluyong, Makati, and Pasay cities. It is the longest and the most congested highway in the metropolis. The locations around the highway were marked with great economic and commercial growth. Of the 23.8 kilometer stretch, Quezon City has the longest span and the most commercially developed intersections from Balintawak area to Ortigas Avenue flyover. However, let's take a look at the current schedule of fair market values in these areas. Caloocan City, 55,000 per square meter. Quezon City, 5,500 per square meter. San Juan City, 40,000 per square meter. Mandaluyong, 12,000 per square meter. Makati City, 48,000 per square meter. And lastly, Pasay City, 40,000 per square meters. Corinthian Garden is a first-class exclusive subdivision whose land area is situated in two cities. Residents of the subdivision use two different addresses depending on where their property is located. Corinthian Gardens, Quezon City, or Corinthian Gardens, Pasig City. Let's compare the fair market values of those two locations. Corinthian Gardens, Pasig, 6,000 pesos per square meters. Corinthian Garden, Quezon City, 3,000 pesos per square meters. The Welcome Rotonda, also known as Mabuhay Rotonda, is a roundabout in Quezon City, Philippines. It is located a few meters from Quezon City's border with Manila. At the intersection of E. Rodriguez Avenue and Quezon Boulevard, Mayon Avenue, Quezon Avenue, and España Boulevard, a very historical area, it was the site of major rallies and protest actions during the martial law days. Again, let's compare the fair market values of real property in the area. Manila, 70,000 pesos per square meter. Quezon City area, 5,000 pesos per square meter. Quezon City has the lowest real property tax rates now, and even when the general revision takes effect next year, Quezon City will still have one of the lowest real property tax rates in the country. To illustrate this point, we are showing the real property tax table showing the current assessment value based on 1995 rates compared with the proposed schedule of fair market values for 2017. Example, if your residential lot is 255.60 square meters, you have been paying 1,725.30 pesos. After revision, you are going to pay now 2,556 pesos or 48% increase in payment. The assessment level would be reduced from 18% to 5%. That's why the increase is very minimal in terms of money value. On commercials, if you have a property of 552.10 square meter, currently you are paying 11,180.03. If the adjustments are made, you are going to pay now 19,875.60 or an increase of 78%. Please take note that the assessment level had been reduced from 45% to 15% Hence, the increase is likewise very minimal. This is Tax TV. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We have with us today the Vice Mayor of Quezon City and now Acting Mayor, Honorable Maria Josefina G. Belmonte. The Vice Mayor is the presiding officer of the Quezon City Council, the Tourism Czar of the city, and Vice Chairperson of the Quezon City Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council. Joy Belmonte is an achiever and a women's rights and welfare advocate. She has an MA in Archaeology from the Institute of Archaeology, University of College in London, and an MA Museum Studies in the University of Leicester, United Kingdom. In 1992, she graduated from the Ateneo de Manila University with an AB Social Science degree. Ma'am, good morning. First of all, we would like to thank you for being our guest at Tax TV. What could you say, ma'am, about this proposed tax measures on real property taxes?
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Injiga, for inviting me to your show. It is an honor and a pleasure. So first and foremost, the adjustment of fair market values is a long overdue measure. We haven't adjusted this for the past 21 years.
Wow.
And we've only started working on it because the Commission on Audit, the DILG, and the Department of Finance has already instructed us and directed us to work on this.
So that's why this proposed ordinance is being pushed through. And when do you think they could be passed on before the end of the year?
Well, that is the target. It is a priority legislation of Mayor Herbert Bautista, and he asked us to do this as the first and foremost task in his new administration. And so this is the first measure that we are working on. So we have been conducting numerous public consultations, and I'm proud to say that we are the only city council, I believe, who are passing this measure with more than 29 public consultations under our belt. Yeah.
Just imagine. So I think also all the councilors are also co-author of this particular ordinance?
Yes, all the councilors are authors of this ordinance because it is a priority legislation.
What would be the benefit of this real property increase to the, first of all, to the, of course, the property owners, and then to the city, and of course to the SEF, to the school board?
The adjustment to the fair market values is mandated by the local government code. According to the local government code, we have to adjust this every 3 years.
Yeah.
And yet the city government has not done so for the past 21 years. No, so it's long overdue. Now, what are the effects of this? Well, first, it's compliance with the law. That is the number one that I'd like to stress. It's compliance with the local government code, which is our mandate, and also it is compliance with the observations of the Commission on Audit, the Department of Finance, and the DILG.
Yeah.
So as a side effect of the adjustment, there will be a slight tax increase. No?
Yeah.
But that I would like to stress that for the City Council anyway, that is not the primary reason we are passing this. For us, it is compliance.
Yeah.
No? And it's necessary because there have been so many developments and so many changes in the landscape of our city in the past 21 years. And so the current fair market values are no longer reflective of the realities of the times. No? And we just want to bring the FMV at par with what is reality. No?
Now, on the part of the taxpayers who pay their taxes, once there would be an increase, that would be beneficial also to them, because if they sell their property, of course, usually they use the new valuation of the property and no longer the old one.
Yeah, actually, the taxpayers, of course, were quite opposed in the beginning because they're thinking of it as just a raise in taxes. No? But they don't see that there is a positive effect. The fact that their properties are now adjusted to reflect the real values of their properties. In the future, if they wish to dispose of their properties, they will receive more in terms of the purchase fee. No? And if they want to, let's say, to make sanla, their property as collateral,
secure a loan.
or to make a loan sa bangko, mataas din ang matatanggap nila in exchange. No? So may mga benefits po yan in the long term for our property owner.
Around how much would be our increase because the current value right now of the BIR is quite high. It's very, very high. Now, around when this ordinance would be passed, around how much percent would be the valuation of the property here in Quezon City compared to BIR?
Our zonal valuations, our valuations for the fair market values are about half or less than half of the,
less than half.
Yes, of the BIR zonal valuations. And it's really because ang tagal-tagal na natin hindi ito in-adjust, and ayaw naman natin mabigla ang ating mga mamamayan. And so, and like I mentioned, it is not revenue generation that is our purpose. It is just compliance. So we feel that it is fair.
I think the city assessor has projected an increase of around 600 million from this new ordinance if it would be passed and implemented by next year. Do you think that this projection is quite optimistic that we could hit that 600 million or higher?
We had to make adjustments to the proposed measure given to us by the city assessor's office. And when we took that into consideration, the original 800 million that was proposed to be collected from this, naging 600 na lang.
Since the real property tax has an attached collection, which is the Special Education Fund, the SEF, what would be the projection? Last year's collection was around how much?
It was a 1.34 billion, I think.
Yeah, so 1.34 billion was collection from the SEF. So this is to be used exclusively for educational purposes.
Yes, specifically for infrastructure and for capacity building.
Being the number 2 highest official of the city, what do you think is the biggest problem of the city, especially in using this special education fund?
Being the biggest city, naturally, we have the biggest number of young people that we have to send to school. And the greatest challenge for me is to provide them with quality education.
Quality education, yeah.
So I think one of the greatest benefits of this additional fund is if we can channel this towards improving education for our children.
In additional revenue for the SEF, around how much would that be?
Additional revenue is 1% of whatever it is that we collect.
Additional 1%. How about the barangays also would benefit from this?
Yes, according to the law, from the real property tax, 30% goes to the barangay for them to undergo their various development projects, and 70% stays with the city government.
With the city government. There are misconceptions coming from the public sector, especially the real property owners here in Cherapura and other parts of the city, that the increase would be around 1,000%. Could you explain on this, ma'am?
Yes, there are some misconceptions coming from some news reports saying that tax increases would reach about 500%. And I'd like to categorically deny that this is going to happen. I think they confuse taxes with fair market value. The increase will be in the fair market value. And yet the increase is still much lower, less than half of the BIR zonal valuation. So there is now a formula. So the fair market value times the assessment level times the tax rate, which is 2.5%, is equivalent to the real property tax. So I'd like to say that in the beginning, the first proposed measure given to us by the assessor's office, the assessment level was at 10%.
10%.
Now it is 18%, actually.
Yeah, currently 18%.
But because of the increase, they put it down to 10. We in the City Council put it down to 5%.
So even they divided by 2, so that is now 5%.
Now 5%, and we are the only city in the entire country, I believe, with a single-digit assessment level for the real property tax. And so I think that this is such a good concession already that we are giving. And so I would like to give an example, okay? Because I know that the persons in Cherapura were quite opposed, no? And yet there's really no reason for them to be opposed if they understand clearly what the implications of this are. So first, if your property is about cost 3,000, let's say 3,000 pesos per square meter. The original would be 18% assessment level, down to 10%. The City Council put it down to 5%. If we increase their fair market value, and we do the formula, the increase will only be about 6,700 pesos. Okay?
That's money value.
That's the money value.
Formerly, they would been paying around how much?
About 3,000. Now it's 3,000. Okay. Then, given the new formula that we are proposing with a 5% assessment value, assessment rate, it will only be 6,700 pesos. But I'd like to stress that in Quezon City, if you pay within the first quarter of the year, you have a 20% discount. So yung kanyang 6,700, magiging 5,300 na lang, which is less than 2,000 peso increase from the current RPT that he is paying. And if he is a senior citizen, I would like to add, may additional pang 10% discount, no?
I think we're the only city that gives like that.
Yeah, so we really considered all of these issues that were raised during the public consultation. So I think there is really no reason for our homeowners to be opposed to this measure. It's a very small increase, and I'd like to stress we took into consideration everybody's views about it, and given this slight increase, we are the only city still in the Philippines with the low, well, I think in Metro Manila anyway,
Metro Manila,
with the lowest.
Even with the approval.
Yes, even with this increase in fair market value, we are still lower than any other city in Metro Manila.
And I think it's only Quezon City that gives a 20% discount up to March 31. No other city in the Philippines gives that.
So actually, it's very reasonable, I believe, for the homeowners. And in fact, if your category is R6, which I think are those belonging to the CMP, yung mga Community Mortgage Program. So these are from the lower socioeconomic brackets. The tax increase will only be up to 50 pesos.
50 pesos?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's really, I think, very, very reasonable.
Yeah.
So I would encourage all our homeowners to look at our website. It's called the Quezon City Property Values website, where there's the formula there.
Yeah.
And they can just plug in the numbers to calculate how much their new RPT will be. And I encourage them that before they complain, they do this first. They do this exercise first, because they will see that it is actually a very reasonable amount that will be charged from them.
How about in the business sector? Because this is what we are discussing is the residential. How about on the business sector? In
the business sector, there are classifications as well as in the residential sector, and the assessment level is down from 45% to 14%.
So you just
we adjusted the fair market values, we increased it, but we dropped the assessment level to 14%.
I think we're also the lowest in the entire country that gives a 14% on commercial and industrial establishments.
Yes, I believe we are.
What is your last message to our taxpayers here in Quezon City, being the acting mayor of the city, since the mayor is out of the country?
So, well, I'd like to tell all of the taxpayers here that the adjustment of the fair market values, this is mandated by the local government code. It is mandated by law. We are complying with the law. We are complying with the observations of the Commission on Audit, of the DILG, of the Department of Finance. And despite this, we are doing our best to ensure that the burden on the taxpayers will be cushioned and will not be severely felt by you. And your City Council is working for your benefit. And we assure you also that if there are concerns, other concerns that you would like to direct towards us, we are going to be very happy to take these all into consideration. So if there are no further oppositions to this measure, the schedule of passage will be on the 5th of December.
This 5th of December?
Yes, and then for third reading on the 13th of December.
So hopefully it would be approved before the end of the year?
Hopefully it will be approved before the end of the year, assuming there are no more violent objections.
Cities have better leverage than other local government units when it comes to funding education services. The allowable real property tax rate is higher, up to 2%, and the basis for such tax is broader due to high-value properties brought about by commercial and economic activities in the cities. In addition to the RPT, cities also collect the additional 1% levy known as a Special Education Fund to be used for the operations and maintenance of public school buildings, facilities, and equipment, educational research, purchase of books, and sports development as required by the local government code. The SEF is automatically released to the City School Board. Revenues for public school education services increase proportionately when the market values of the LGU is updated once every 3 years as provided by law, and if collection is efficient. Local autonomy can be better served if local government units become self-reliant communities. Let us help build our nation. Give your share by paying your taxes correctly and promptly for a better tomorrow. Once again, I am Dr. Victor B. Endriga, and this is Tax TV, a taxpayer's guide to Philippine taxation. Thank you for watching.
For comments, questions, and suggestions on our topic today, you may email us at taxtvph@gmail.com, and Dr. Victor Endriga will gladly answer your queries.